Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we get started into this next episode, I want to give a quick shout out to a continued supporter of the podcast, being Seth Roy of North Mountain Goshawks. And for those of you that are in the market for a new hunting partner for next season, you should definitely hit up Seth at ostringer3@gmail.com. Fill out the information form on northmountaingoshawks.com or drop him a Facebook message at North Mountain Goshawks, particularly if you're in the market for a parent-reared North American, Finnish, or Russian goshawk. He is a producer of really nice game hawks, and if you go that route, you won't be disappointed. So hit him up, get on that list, and tell him we sent you. And if any of you have wanted any Falconry Chronicles merch, before now, most of you were aware that there wasn't any available, but as of recently, there now is a store available at falconrychronicles.com. If you've wanted a shirt or other types of merch for a while, well, now you can get your hands on one. And each purchase, of course, will go directly back towards supporting the ongoing efforts of the podcast. So for those of you that have wanted some kind of merch item from the podcast and would like to support, that's now available. So each item is print on demand, just so you're aware, so it might take you just a bit longer than average to get your order, but you will get it. And so far I've had some mugs, shirts, and other things like that printed off, and so far the quality's been pretty good. So if you order, hope you'll be satisfied. And once again, I appreciate those who already have. It's helped out a lot, and really appreciate your support. Now, on to this next episode of the Falconry Chronicles podcast.
Once we get all those three, that's kind of like the passage through, and here came Jose over the dunes, and I don't think anybody saw him but me, and I threw out the pigeon and we got him. So it was my last day. That's the most memorable. Touching his feather, like I can remember touching his wing. Like I'm gonna get it's emotional because it was so it was special. So
and his son Luke was out the window of the truck before I got even close to getting stopped. He was excited.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, for another episode of the Falconry Chronicles podcast, and we are back in Texas again, and we might be here for a little bit. I want to make sure to get some of these episodes out that I recorded earlier this year at the Texas Hawking Association meet, and it's been a kind of a long time coming, circling back around, but hey, we're here again, and there's a lot of cool stuff that came from that meet, and I look forward to getting it out to you all. And this is one of those. For those of you who know them, Jimmy Walker and Kyle Irlbeck, they're a couple of longwingers from Texas, and it was cool having another sort of unique combination for another episode of the podcast, because as you'll hear, Jimmy and Kyle are related, but it's a combination that haven't really heard so far yet, from at least to my knowledge, from what I can remember anyway, as far as guests that we've had on the podcast. But anyway, we'll just go ahead and jump right into this conversation as usual, and you'll be able to hear some of the cool longwing experiences that Jimmy and Kyle have had, and of course how they got to know each other and become family and all that. So another really cool story to share with you all, so enjoy. Here we go. So how was you guys this morning?
It's good.
Yeah?
My wife and I drove down this morning from Amarillo.
Oh, okay.
It's getting windy up there, and it's there's a whole lot more ice up there than down here. All the ponds north of Tulia are locked in, so maybe that'll push all the ducks down here for the meet.
Yeah, cool. So you guys both live roughly close together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool.
Yep. I'm south here of Amarillo and Canyon, Texas. So
okay.
Yeah, we were just loading, trying to get everything ready for the cold and leaving some animals behind. So you got to get them shored up. So
Yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about meats in general. I mean, I was just talking to some other people this morning about it. You know, I mean, it's hard for me. Like, whenever, especially when I'm doing the podcast and stuff at these meets, it's hard for me to juggle hawks, dogs, podcast, meat, flying and stuff anymore. I mean, I can still pull it off sometimes, but it's a lot harder now to fly birds at meets for me personally than it used to be.
Yeah. I stopped a long time ago. It's just a just to meet old buddies, that you don't see but once a year. That's a reason for being here, as far as I'm concerned. So I bring birds just because I got to take care of them, but I don't fly them anymore.
Yeah.
I typically do try to get out with friends and hawk, but it's a traveling circus just to get everything out here. It's a whole different ball game.
Do you guys hunt with dogs and stuff too?
Yes,
sir.
Yeah, I have a German short hair and a Jack Russell, mostly just the short hair. Then Kyle has a setter and a Jack Russell.
Okay. Yeah. I've currently got 2 Vizslas and 3 Dachshunds, I don't really hunt the Vizslas so much anymore, but 3 Dachshunds in particular can be a challenge in and of themselves, especially when it comes to making sure that they don't, crap all over a hotel room. I don't know if you guys have had any bad experiences with that before, but I have. And so anymore, it's kind of like, just the extra provisions that are involved with also making sure that, you're maintaining, you don't want to ruin a meat or a meat location for anybody else either.
Yep.
So, true story.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you guys
It's
had
happened.
any? Yeah. Has it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy. Yeah. I always try to be a courteous falconer.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
With dogs.
With dogs,
With hunting dogs, man. Our hunting dogs are just high powered. I mean, running them down the halls, and mine's not typically leash trained. So
Yeah.
he's just shot collar trained.
Yeah. I mean, so whenever you go to meets and bring your dogs, do you even half the time even bring them to the room, or do you just keep them out in the truck?
I don't bring them in.
Yeah.
My truck's set up for him pretty good. My little Jack will probably come in tonight. I'll check the weather, but Doc may get to come into the hotel tonight too. He's our setter. So
Yeah, I don't think tonight the weather. I know tomorrow night.
Yeah,
the
it's gonna get
temp
ugly.
It's supposed to drop pretty good.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I just don't. For me, it's really tough to juggle all those things anymore. I mean, I still enjoy. We'll occasionally fly birds at meets and stuff. If I think that the situation will allow it, but I don't know. But I'm glad that I got a chance to come down here and real quick, just quick cheers. And yeah, I mean, thanks for being a part of this.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Where
you.
are you from?
I'm from Southern Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm from Evansville.
Well, do you make a lot of the field meets, the state field meets?
It depends. I mean, the ones that I try to make every year, I try to make at least a couple of our field meets in Indiana a year, especially because I help host one of them,
Yes, sir.
the one in Evansville. And I like making Kentucky's meet, winter meet every year, because I have a lot of friends that, and some even that I hunt with semi-regularly. And I'm trying to make more state meets, but what I like to do is I like to try and kill as many birds with one stone, no pun,
Sure.
or pun intended, I should say, with the podcast and everything else. But I mean, for anybody listening, I always say, hey, if anybody wants to bring me down to state meets to do more of these types of things, it's always appreciated. Help with the travel expenses is always appreciated.
Yeah.
So,
we're grateful. This is cool.
yeah.
When Corey mentioned it, I was like, let's get this going. This is great.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always nice to hear when people, it's just like, hey, I listen, whenever you go to whenever I'm going to hawking spots or whatever and drive, I'll listen and whatever. I'm like, cool. I don't know why, but it's funny, but all kidding aside, no, it's been cool. And this is actually my first time to Lubbock. I've always heard, this is such a jackrabbit mecca and stuff like that. And even for guys that duck hawk and fly falcons and stuff, I've always heard this is a good, fairly decent spot for that too. But, but I mean, so you guys are both primarily long wing guys now, from what you said, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What are you flying right now?
I have a brand new Tundra Falcon, and I was flying a Tiercel Tundra for 6 years, and he died the day before Christmas.
Oh, geez.
Kind of a bummer, but he was a real special bird. And then I trapped a prairie merlin. What, a week ago?
Yeah, you're a weekend.
A week ago, yeah. So I'm flying one and training one.
That's a lot sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
But flying 2 long wings is a whole lot easier than flying a long wing and a dirt hawk. It's just it just didn't work for me. Kyle's been pretty good at it, but I flew a long wing and a goshawk, but we were always chasing quail at the same spot on the same ranch, so that worked out. But as far as going chasing rabbits somewhere else, it's just completely different.
Yeah. Our hunting setup is totally different. His primary 2 big ranches side by side, straight to the ponds. It's a really good setup. Mine's back roads. Here's a tank. Another 5 miles. Here's 2 more tanks, and then going down. So I passed a lot of my good rabbit spots going to my duck spots. So I would check. I flew a male red tail, and a peregrine for, I guess, the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Yeah. It can be tough. Like, and at least I've noticed that different states seem to have more areas, especially like the big, ranching, type states that have a lot of those different types of, spots and everything. Like it's a little bit easier to go to one spot for multiple purposes.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
certain states have a lot more than that than others. Mine, not so much. Indiana, you're not going to find that very much.
yeah.
Unless, of course, you have, say, maybe a decent rabbit spot that's also a squirrel spot, but that's all dirt hawking.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
So, I mean, you're not going to find like a good long wing spot right next to, a good, whatever. I mean, like the bigger long wing type stuff doesn't exist very much where I'm at, so it's, that whole conversation is kind of foreign to me, whenever people are like, yeah, I was able to fly my Goss and my peregrine or whatever, like in the same spot. Like I'm not used to hearing that. So
Yeah, we've been blessed. I've been up there for, close to 30 years now. I grew up in the panhandle of Texas.
Okay.
And then moved back up there and ran into falconry right after we moved back to Amarillo, or back to Canyon.
Right.
And got really heavy into it then, and just ran into the right people at the right time, and just made lifelong friends of several of the ranchers up there. So people that come up to hunt with me, that's always, let's go to your ranch. It's always, they refer to them as my ranch now. So it makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah. I know whenever I was, just using like Mexico as an example. I mean, whenever I was down there hunting with some of those guys, they had access to, a couple of these ranches that just had pond after pond after pond after pond after pond, and stuff that you could also, hunt other quarry on and stuff as well. And I'm just like, where is this in my life? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm happy that you're able to have that, because not everywhere does.
Like I said, we're blessed up there to be able to do that.
I just hope he leaves the ranch in the will to me.
Right. Yeah, because as we've already established, it's his ranch to leave to you.
Yes,
right.
yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
He has to be nice to me for another 5 years, I'm guessing.
Oh my gosh, whatever.
Yeah, you think you got? Well, I mean, for all I know, I have another 5 years too. I keep burning the candle at both ends. I'm still waiting for the inevitable stroke or heart attack that's going to happen at some point. For me, just from sheer sleep deprivation or otherwise. But
Yep.
It can happen.
yeah.
It did happen. Yeah.
It just happened.
Yeah, I had one in September.
Oh, jeez.
So
Well, I'm glad you're all right.
you and me both. Yeah.
Yeah, all of us.
Yeah.
It could have been.
I hadn't written the will yet, so
Yeah.
he would have been out of it if I hadn't have made it. So he's still in the running.
Man, it's nice that we can all joke about this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? You kind of have to be able to deal with it a little bit. But
It was heavy, but we got through it. He was a star pupil, I guess. He kept us all feeling light, because it was heavy. So.
yeah. Yeah, I had a friend not too long ago. One of my Kentucky falconer buddies was climbing a nest for a Sharpie or something, or either a Sharpie or a coop. I can't remember which one. A few years ago or whatever, and he actually had a stroke like on the way down.
Oh my gosh!
No, it wasn't a stroke. It was a heart attack. I'm sorry. And he, if they would have gone into the hospital about 45 minutes later, he would have died. Yeah. So wow. I mean, it was. You just never know.
Yeah.
You never know, and that's why it's always good to, some people don't like the social aspect of hawking, but whenever you're out in the middle of nowhere and fields and God knows what, it is nice to have somebody with you in case you do decide to,
Yes. Yeah, I was finishing packing my truck to come to South Padre Island to trap a peregrine. Kind of messed up my time, but everything worked out for the best. Yeah.
This kind of leads to a good story, so I can tell. We're in the hospital room. He was loading up to trap, and so he's meeting Matt Reedy, who you just interviewed. So I am in the hotel room, in the hospital room, and I'm telling everybody, like, okay, I'm gonna call and tell Matt you're not gonna make it to trap, and everybody looks at me like, you're saying he's not gonna make it in the hospital where he just had so everybody just like,
it got real quiet.
It got real weird. Quick.
That's where the damn it Kyle comes in.
Yeah. So yeah, he's not gonna make it, but he had a heart attack and he's not gonna make it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Trapping.
Right.
Forgot the trapping.
Yeah, and when you're in a hospital setting, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I mean, I've worked as a respiratory therapist for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
And so you have to be careful of your wording whenever you're in the healthcare setting. Yeah.
I can relate. Yeah. That was wild. When it came out of my mouth and everybody's eyes.
They got quiet.
It's like, let me clarify. It's hilarious, man.
But, and then just to speak on that more, the falconry community that was down trapping, we got some written permits from the doctors, all the things, and then was able to get him a bird trapped, and that's who he's flying right now. So
yeah, Sheldon trapped a bird for me.
Oh, okay.
And delivered it to Amarillo.
Oh,
I mean,
how much? So I'm gonna have an annual stint party every September, so I can just have a bird delivered instead of having to drive to South Padre.
I was getting ready to say, you might see a lot more falconers have heart attacks or strokes if that's all it takes. I mean, you get a nice new peregrine delivered to you every year if all it takes is a stroke or heart attack.
There you go.
I get people kind of need to like you too.
Well, there is that, I guess. Yeah, I mean, if you have one, then people are just kind of like,
yeah.
And that should tell you something about yourself, if nothing else. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and transition to a little bit happier topic then. Yeah. No, so you're flying. You said you're flying Prairie or Richardson's Merlin.
Yes, sir.
And you said also a peregrine right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Cool. And what are you flying?
So I have a Passage Tundra. She's 5 years old.
Okay.
Trapped her there at South Padre, and then also a month ago, I guess it's a month. Yep, I trapped a Columbarius Merlin in the Panhandle. So yeah, and we're about to free fly if we can get a little less than 20 plus miles an hour wind. Yeah, I've had it scheduled day after day. And it's just, I can't get the guts to let her loose in the 20. I mean, she's going to do fine, but
he won't.
I'm not doing good.
Yeah.
I don't have the guts yet.
Yeah. That, so I actually was to the free flying stage to some degree with, a Richardson's that a friend of mine had given to me a couple seasons ago or whatever. And, that was while I was still working in Wyoming. And so, basically, as most people know, I mean, the winds and especially like that area of Wyoming can just get brutal. I mean, and me being the idiot that I was, I went ahead and decided to free fly this Merlin one day, and the same kind of deal, like basically took off. And I tracked her across town literally all day. Yeah. And found where she was roosting. And I had to leave her there overnight. When I came back the next morning, all I found was the transmitter, and it was the antenna was all crimped and crooked, and the backpack was off, and there was the transmitter laying in a dirt path the next morning.
That's heartbreaking, dude.
Yeah, owl or something, probably got the bird overnight, and so yeah, no, I understand the hesitation.
I was gonna do it today, and we were loading. I was like, okay, we're going to this spot, we're gonna do it. And I'm like, get in the truck, and I just see the trees just start waving because it was fine all morning while we're loading. And then,
there's your answer.
Yeah,
he has the answer for you.
Thank you. Don't do that yet. We're very close, but we'll get it.
Yeah. I mean,
what's my timeline? I mean, it's got to get her going. So
sure,
we're there.
Yeah,
just got to get a good day.
Yeah, sometimes it's just not worth rushing. Yeah. And sometimes it's just it is what it is. I mean, we all learn our lessons and have our experiences, and it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'll fly Penny every day and win like this. It doesn't matter. She will catch a duck and make us look good. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, we all develop our comfort zones and what we are okay with which risks that we become okay with, and that are more calculated than others and stuff. But well, I mean, yeah, God, those lessons, man.
That's tough.
It is tough. But so, I mean, you guys have known each other for a while then, right?
Ever since he started dating my daughter.
Okay.
So this is, he's my father-in-law. It's actually my introduction to falconry is through him on one of my first dates, picking up Sonny. I saw him, they're putting gear on a red tail at the kitchen table, and I'm picking up Sonny, and I can see everything happening over there. I'm like, what is this? And then a few more questions, a few more dates later, find out a lot about falconry. And then I kind of stood back. I've been driving tractor growing up, watching the hawks catch stuff all around me. I was like, I don't know that I like it tied down in a box, or you know what I mean? I remember saying that to him outside of his mew. He's like, well, you need to come hunting with me. I was like, okay, we'll do it. We go out. Actually, I guess I got you a spot that day. That was my Aunt Amelia. So I got him a rabbit spot. So that was one up, check. Good one.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say there's no easier way to earn yourself a sponsorship than finding people.
Get a spot.
Or into a family.
Family, yeah. I had two.
Heck with the sponsorship.
Yeah. I was trying to marry his daughter. But
that's hilarious.
Yeah, he put his glove on my hand and called his red tail to me, and from that moment I was hooked. And so fast forward, took me about, we did get married a few years later, and it took me 18 years to get my license. Raising babies, the whole thing.
Well, he didn't fail the test that many times.
No. I never took it. I could not get committed. I mean, my work, my family life, all of it just was never going to work.
So we're talking about the falconry test, right? We're not talking about, the life or the life application test.
I'm still in that.
That's still out.
That's still out. I do that every day. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But no, it did, just the commitment and all that. And he never did push me to, get it. I always wanted it. Hunted with a ton of people on your podcast. I hunted with all his friends, and just learning, every different bird, every different
mistake,
tactic. Yeah, and gearing up birds, trapping birds, doing it all. Almost getting arrested, hanging out with these guys because I didn't have a license, and I'm, trying to pick up traps and be helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Monahan's.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's listening. He tried to throw the book at me. He got the book out from behind his seat and tried to read quickly to get me a ticket, but I didn't get a ticket that day.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, it's always nice whenever they're a little bit more accommodating to circumstances, listen a little bit. But so, I mean, going back to your falconry origins, and Jimmy, I mean, whose daughter did you have to date to get into it?
Well, it didn't work quite that way. I didn't get into it until late in life. I was, almost 50 years old, and they had the NAFA meet in Amarillo. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine came by and he said, "Hey, Walker, you got to look at all those birds they're having at the hotel." And I said, "What are you talking about?" So I went down there and started walking around and sat down with the guy. It turned out to be Hal Webster. And he's just, just the friendliest guy in the world. Autographed one of his books for me. And I just like, you're hooked. You just can't put it down. And I told my wife that day, I said, "This is what I'm fixing to do." I gun hunted all my life, dove, quail, pheasant, and I've hardly touched a gun since then. I might go a couple of times and hunt dove or sandhill crane or something, but after that day, it was really strange how quick it took over, that you make a decision, a lifelong decision, that's what you're going to do. It's not like, I think I might try that. There wasn't any of that thought in my mind at all. And so it's, again, that's back in the mid 90s, I guess, when they had that NAFA meet there, and I've been full steam ahead ever since. Still going.
Cool. Yeah, no, it is funny, like whenever you learn that this is a thing, this still exists after all these many thousands of years.
Exactly.
And it's something you can actually do. And when you learn that and you think there's a possibility that you can do that, it's hard to stop thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
I had read the Texas Almanac. Is that what it's called? The Almanac that has all the rules and regulations in from Parks and Wildlife. Anyway, it's an annual that they put out that tells you the dates that everything starts. And growing up, I'd seen that, and I'd seen this section that said falconry dates. I said, "What the hell?" I said, "What the heck?" They don't do that anymore. And if I'd have known that, I'd have been going when I was 15.
Yeah.
But I wasn't smart enough to figure it out until I'm almost 50.
There's a lot of people that aren't, you know, I mean, there's just I think the overall exposure, it's easier for people definitely to find out about it now. I mean, it just kind of goes without saying with social media and the internet and everything else. But yeah, I mean, back whenever you initially found out about it, I mean, it would have been a lot harder because, I mean, that's still kind of a little bit pre-internet and everything else. You know?
Absolutely,
right before,
way before. And I used to, I trapped a prairie falcon, and I used to call Jim Ince. I don't know if you know Jim Ince, but he's a hood maker and a heck of a falconer from down in Austin or Houston. I'm sorry. And I'd call Jim Ince. There was no typing up or anything or getting on your computer to call anybody else on the internet, but I knew that Jim knew how to fly prairie falcons, so I was on the phone with him a bunch, and that's where I learned to fly prairie falcons with that guy with that phone call. Mm-hmm. There was no other way to get it, and I liked it that way. Now the information is so easy to get. I just think it makes it too easy to get a license. I'd make it much harder nowadays.
Yeah, and along those lines, and I think that's also still where we're supposed to, like the self-policing aspect of it is still, you know, I mean, that's where it becomes a big responsibility. I mean, if you're going to take somebody on as an apprentice or whatever, then, you know, the due diligence goes both ways. It needs to be a good fit, you know, for both parties, and the responsibility for the continuation of people that are going to do the sport right and stuff is a big responsibility.
It's up to us on the wannabe side of things, when the wannabes approach and how we, you know, interact with them. I'm looking that they have gone out and found the info, and they know what they're doing. I mean, I took a few guys out a couple years. They've now become generals, but when they showed up and got in my truck, they knew what to do. They knew the steps. I mean, they haven't done it, but they've read about it. They've searched it out. And I was like, there's no way I can't help these guys. They made it easy for me because they knew what to do. They just needed a little helping hand. And to me, that's how we gatekeep it. I've had people say, yeah, my kid wants to be a falconer. I'm like, okay. And then, you know, they're either going to try to show up and drop the kid off, which I will help. But I mean, the kid won't look me in the eye or shake my hand, or, you know, these things. Like, there's going to be stuff that you need to kind of accomplish to get to this point, and then I will help you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, everybody's got to earn it in their own way. And, you know, I mean, everybody's, I know this can be somewhat of a touchy subject sometimes within the community, but everybody's got their own, I don't know, viewpoints on what they're looking for whenever someone approaches them for a sponsorship. And, you know, I think that's probably going to be a reason why, I know for me personally, just speaking for myself, I mean, I don't know how long it's ever going to be before I feel like I can take on an apprentice, just because I know I wouldn't expect anything out of anybody that I didn't do myself or currently do myself for myself. Right. Yep. So if I can't be out in the field with someone as often as my sponsor was out in the field with me, or can adequately dedicate that much time, or expect somebody else to give that amount of time to their falconry also, it's like there's not very many people right nowadays, I think, that are in a position where they can get out as many times a week as I would expect, and so on and so forth and stuff, you know, and because not everybody has a 3-day a week schedule, right? You know, and, you know, just things like that. I mean, everybody's got different considerations in what they look for.
Right. Yeah. We kind of have a deal. You call us and, you know, we'll try to make accommodations, but I'm never calling a wannabe to say, do you want to go hunting with me? I'm not calling you.
Yeah. No, that's their responsibility.
I'm going almost every day. So
we're leaving here at 8:30.
I leave.
Be here. Don't go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's stuff that I've learned from him, and I was like, this is a good rule, it really is. So, and I credit all the stuff I've learned from him. I'm still an apprentice.
Just the good stuff.
This is the good stuff. Yeah, but I'll always be his apprentice, as long as I fly. So
sure. Yeah. So I mean, how long? For you, Jimmy, I mean, it's been what, like 30-ish years now?
Yes, sir.
As a falconer?
Yes, sir.
And I mean, so you had about an 18-year apprenticeship,
yes.
Kyle, but
but I mean, a pre-apprenticeship, and then I started in 2016.
Okay.
And I got my first red tail in 2016. So I guess we're 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah, as far as being official.
Yeah,
officially.
So I did. Yeah. I applied for my master license this year. I was like, this doesn't even feel right. You know what I mean? Because that's what I said. I feel still like an apprentice. When I hunt with guys, I take it all in. I still want to learn everything I can. And so it's on paper, but I got a lot to learn. And there's not mastering these birds.
No. And that's something we talk about all the time. I mean, like, the master license is just a title. It's just a name. I mean, anybody that's worth their salt in falconry knows that they're never going to be a master.
I did put it on my resume. It's good resume material, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess I don't know what kind of job you're applying for.
No. It's an accomplishment. Kind of like a degree. That's my degree.
Yeah.
There you go.
I gotcha. So, I mean, you both started off the traditional way then with, going like with red tails and so on and so forth, and then worked up to long wings then, huh? Do you think you'll ever go back to, I mean, do you still dirt hawk?
I actually, this is my last year. I had a little incident in the field with a red tail. I was like, I get out there and dirt hawk, I'm just not feeling it anymore. So I just said, I think I want to give the Merlin a shot. Always going to fly a peregrine. I'll always have a peregrine in my cage, I guess you could say. I will, if you want to eat, that's what they have is a peregrine, because she gives me mallard ducks we eat duck 3 nights a week with a peregrine. So
you're catching a lot of ducks then.
Yeah, she's a fantastic bird.
He's a pretty good cook too.
Oh,
I invite him over to the house.
Oh, was that the other thing that earned him the permission?
That was the final draw for the shoot. Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, I love to. That's, I think, one of my favorite days in falconry is, thinking about what we're gonna do, set up, go do it, and then come home, pluck it, cook it, and just have a nice, wine and whiskey, and just relish the day. It's, to me, I can't think of a better way. And it's just, that's what I try to do every day. We don't always get it done, but that's, to me, it's the whole, that's the whole package. It's the whole package if we can do it, you know?
So, during the years that you were learning and also, Jimmy, the years that you started, did you guys have jobs or careers then that allowed you to get out as much as you wanted, or?
Never that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hunt most every day, even when I had a full-time job. Mm-hmm. But it was a matter of getting off work, running by the house, grabbing a bird, and being in the field in 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. Luckily, my ranches are pretty close to town, so I was able to get out there pretty quick. Mm-hmm. And so I was real fortunate in that respect to be able to hunt as much as I wanted to with a full-time job.
That's good.
Yeah, my job too. Getting there early, getting off early. That's, I try to work 7 to 3 every day, and if I can be out in the field by 3:30, 3:45, I got that window. That the daylight's gone, man. It's 5:30 and we're dark. So I do a lot of sunset falconry.
Yeah, the winter and daylight savings time just sucks.
Absolutely.
Sucks. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what he is saying. You smell something burning, and it's the daylight is burning as soon as we wake up. So
yeah,
and I'm always late.
Well, I'm surprised that didn't knock him down a few notches if he's always late.
And, he just had to cook that one more duck.
Fair enough.
And luckily, he furnishes the duck too, so it's a double deal.
Yeah. And in my hunting group, if you're late, then. Yeah, if you're either getting left behind or they're starting without you, one way or the other. Yeah. Well, so how many years did you dirt hawk then before you got into long wings than Jimmy?
Said flew a red tail and 2 or 3 Harrises. Probably 10 years before I got into the long wings, and then I was actually looking for a Merlin and ended up trapping a little Tiercel prairie falcon named Harley, and flew him for 10 years. And then I think I flew a couple of peregrines during that time, and then I had a Finnish goshawk that was bred by, I can't even think of his name. Lance Christensen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's an amazing bird, and caught hundreds of quail with the goshawk and with the prairie falcon. Yeah. So it took a while to get, to run through all of that, and then pretty much the last 10 years or 12 years, it's been nearly all long wings, all wild prairie falcon or peregrine falcons.
Okay. And so was that goshawk that you flew, the one that was bred by Lance? Was it a parent reared, or was it an imprint? It
was an imprint.
Okay.
Someone else imprinted it and then gave it to me.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know it was imprinted when I got it.
Oh.
And then I talked to Lance, and he said, "Be careful."
Yeah.
But anyway, he was a great hawk, and just catch absolutely every quail that flew.
Cool.
And hunted him over a pointing dog, a German short hair, which I try to think back of if I was going to do anything in the world, that would be it. I would hunt blue quail over a short hair with a Tiercel goshawk. That's my goal for the rest of my life, I guess. But it's just a hoot. It's so much fun, especially out on the plains where we live, because the flights may go for a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile before they go out of sight. It's just amazing to watch. And the bad part is, you've got to walk that 3/4 of a mile to catch up.
We weren't tracking steps back then, but we did track steps the last time we were doing that, and it was in the 11,000, 12,000 steps easy, and that's just in the afternoon.
Right. Yeah, with our crew, most of the guys that I hunt with fly goshawks and stuff. Yeah. So and that's even with like shorter cottontail flights and stuff. You're looking at, there's been some days where we've put in easily, on average 14 to 16,000 steps. Then that's just of a morning. Yeah. Yep. So I relate, and it's funny because I've said many times that the whole quail hawking thing and those long flights and stuff, I don't think it's ever going to be for me. But then again, I've also death marched for, multiple goshawks of a morning, just doing short cottontail flights. So, when I think about it, sometimes it's probably just tit for tat. but at the same time, I don't know if tracking, or walking, hundreds of yards to retrieve a bird on, a quail or whatever would be my thing personally. But I don't know. I haven't seen enough of it to know 100% sure, but I've seen enough of it to be like, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely get your heart pumping. Two kinds, adrenaline, and then now you got to put in the steps. So
for sure.
But Julio, his bird that had passed away, to see him fly blue quail, and this peregrine stayed right on top of us and would just stoop, and so just every way he's hunted quail with Harley, with Vinny, with I can tell that's when you're out there, that's where you want to be with the quail. We kill a bunch of ducks, but that's when it gets super exciting for him. I think the smile doesn't come off for, we get way down the road before his smile comes off. So
I can see that.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming then you were probably flying at lower pitches, with the quail hawking with the falcons.
Sometimes, but I found out, and I'd always heard that, you need your bird to be really low. There's a lot of mesquite where we are, and a lot of cholla, and so there's always close cover. And those quail love to go to ground in a pack rat midden, and there's a pack rat midden under, you know what that is? A hole.
Yeah.
A rat hole under a cholla.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so the hole is full of cholla thorns, but that's where the quail learn to go. But Julio taught me one day that I don't need to be low, because he was at 1,400 feet when I flushed a quail, and the quail is looking at me. He never knows the peregrine is anywhere in the sky. And a half mile later, I'm sitting there and to see out of the blue. You know, he comes in at 125 miles an hour and just clocks this quail. So if you're flying in thick cover and at a low altitude, then you better be fast to be able to get through there before he gets to cover. But if you're high enough, that quail's not going to look for cover as quick. He's going to be looking at that threat behind him as opposed to above him, and he's going to go as far as he can from you. And that's when you have the advantage of the height and the speed that you can get from somewhere up in the heavens.
Yeah, I can see that as a trade-off.
Yeah, it's a fun trade-off too. Until you have to go get him. It's a long walk.
Yeah, and I'd be afraid of some of the other environmental stuff, like the coyotes and different things like that too.
Makes you walk faster.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as you get older, you think you're going to be one of those dudes that just takes an ATV to the field and just goes ahead and just trucks it down. And
well, if you saw the fields that we go to, you wouldn't think ATV.
Yeah.
It ain't ATV country.
Or
it's
one
more
of those,
like horseback.
one of those electric bikes or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just now keeping up with this guy. I've been chasing him in the field, so he can walk up and down. So many steps.
Well, that's why you need to be drinking more whiskey before you go into the field, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
No, that's cool. And like I said, it's always cool hearing other people's, preferences and stuff in that regard, because all I've ever heard for the most part is you really need to keep them at a lower pitch for them to have a chance at the quail and stuff. Yep. But it makes sense if they are much higher that they're not going to know that threat's there.
Right.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, as far as where you both are at currently, then, duck hawking with long wings, and is that your foreseeable future then? You pretty much just going to stick with it, or that and the Merlins too?
Yeah, to me, that's where I feel like I'm shifting to the Merlins for my second bird for sure.
You'll know that after you.
Yeah,
don't say that yet.
If she doesn't fly away, I'm having so much fun with this bird. She's so great to have in the house, and everybody loves her. She's so cute, the whole thing. So
right,
she's been so much fun to have. So, but I think I'll always have a peregrine, and just if Penny keeps doing what she does, I'll just keep her. I've been trying to figure out how do you know when to let these birds go. I flew a Tiercel, my first peregrine, Jose the Iceman. He was a big mallard killer, so he did that for the first season, and then he started pulling off mallards. He got his ass kicked so many times, and he would come from 1,000 feet, get right to the big mallards, and he just go right by them.
God, I bet that's frustrating.
It was after drive an hour, get it all set up. Yeah. So, and then I decided to let him go and then get a big female falcon, and she has done exactly. We have mallards on pretty much every pond that I fly down south. So when we get up in his country, we get a lot more divers and smaller ducks. So, but yeah, I'll always have a peregrine.
And you, Jimmy?
Yeah, probably so, unless that special goshawk comes along. Brian Millsap, my buddy out in New Mexico, has been pushing me to take a Cooper's hawk for some odd reason. I don't know if you know Brian or not, but Mr. Cooper's hawk out there. And
I know the name.
Yeah, and so he and I have been talking about that quite a bit lately. Another good quail hawk. But the other thing we run into is one year we may have a plethora of quail. Just everywhere. And then next year, you won't see a quail all season. So it's hard to know. You go get this great goshawk, and then all of a sudden you're having to chase rabbits with it, which is I don't want to do.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know what to get, and I think I found probably the best bird to do that is again with the Tiercel peregrine that'll take the rabbits and not the rabbits, but take the ducks and the quail. So I'll probably stick with that. I may give a goshawk a Cooper's hawk a try, but he better be a good one before he gets to go home with me.
Yeah, I've always heard that many times throughout these years that I've been in falconry, is that basically if you're wanting a quail hawk, the ultimate bird for that is a coop.
Yeah,
and there's of course the male goshawks are great for that too and stuff, but I've always heard over and over again from people, there's this Cooper's hawks just are a whole other level on it, you know, as far as the pursuit flights on quail and stuff.
Yeah,
but
I think it's that initial speed that's such a good thing about him. You know, the goshawk flights, he usually won't catch them on the first flush, but on the second flush, he's figured out that those quail, when they get to a cholla at full speed, right before they get there, they'll slow down just enough to go around the other side of the cholla and land on the back side of it. And this goshawk figured that out. So he catches them on the back side as they're trying to land after they think they've outflown him.
Yeah, it's funny what they learn. I mean, they learn so quickly and so easily. You know, like they're just. I mean, these hawks and falcons are so dumb in so many ways, but they're so smart at what they're programmed to do.
Yeah. God made them for a reason.
Sure.
And he gave them that speed for a reason. He gave the quail the speed for a reason. There's a reason for all of it.
And the repetition that every put them on game, and then they just start sharpening up, and then they're catching them behind the cactus. You know.
Yeah. So I mean, collectively, then, I mean, what's one of you guys' favorite? You know, it could be an experience that you've had together then, or, you know, when you've been hunting together or whatever. But I mean, as far as a particular hunting story, I mean, what's kind of one of your more memorable ones?
Seems like all of my stories come along with Tom Smiley. I was hunting with Paul Domsky and Greg Pinkston, Brian Millsap, Frank Bond, and Tom out in New Mexico. And we all had dirt hawks of some sort. I had the goshawk, and Tom had just got back from Scotland, and he came across their tradition out there. It might have been even from somewhere else, but to carry a bottle of Lagavulin with them. I don't know if you know what Lagavulin is, but a very peaty Scotch whiskey. Yeah. And so we were catching rabbits, and every time you caught a rabbit, you passed along what's it called, a quaif?
A quaif, yeah.
You passed along the quaif to everybody to toast the rabbit that just got taken.
Okay.
So after about 5 rabbits, we were all hollering, "Run, rabbit, run!" It got silly in a hurry, but Tom laughed the whole time. But he was a special man, and that was, you know, he and I had a lot of good times together, and you know, he taught me a lot of falconry, and so a lot of my stories involved Tom for some odd reason.
Yeah. No, I felt fortunate to be able to get a chance to talk to him and go to his house and spend some time with him and do that recording with him before
awesome.
before he passed. And I'm glad that we were, between Israel and I'm glad that we were able to get a couple of his, you know, a couple sessions in with him and get some of his stories, because
Good.
And I know for me that's a huge part of what this is about for me, you know, to be able to chronicle some of those. I mean, I could have probably done 20 podcasts with Tom and not covered all of his
anything.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, just
He's an icon.
Yeah, I mean, like hearing about all the different things that he did in life, and everything from.
How old are you, Tom? How could you have done all of this stuff?
Yeah, and I just like, man, you know, if I can even have a quarter or a fraction of those experiences, then it'd be amazing. But yeah, no, I mean that's cool. And how about you, Kyle? What's one of your favorite stories?
To me, is trapping on Padre Island. My son and Jimmy, we went down and got my first tiercel. So I mean, that right there, it was. I guess I was 6 days on the beach, and I mean, we hit it sun up to sundown, and it's basically madness because you think something different's going to happen. It's that 22 miles up and back. So I think it was 522 miles on that 22-mile stretch that we had worked back and forth, trying to find a falcon to throw a pigeon for. So, I mean, it was tough. And so we had, I guess there's three tokens we had to get, like we had to pull somebody out of the sand.
Yeah.
We had to catch a wild pigeon off the beach. So these pigeons, they would get loose from other falconers or whatever, and they see your truck. They would come try to get in your truck. And so this wild pigeon is just out in the dunes and comes and flies into our truck. Right. So we actually got this pigeon. So that's the second token. And then third is we had to get a hag. A hag, yeah. A hag or tag bird. So yeah, it was a hag. Once we get all those three, that's kind of like the passage through, and here came Jose over the dunes, and I don't think anybody saw him but me, and I threw out the pigeon and we got him. So it was my last day. That's the most memorable. Touching his feather, like I can remember touching his wing. Like I'm gonna get it's emotional because it was so it was special. So
nice.
And his son Luke was out the window of the truck before I got even close to getting stopped. He was excited.
Yeah. So my son Lucas, he actually tested for his falconry license when he was 12. Did not pass it, and then I guess he got to the next age, 13, and junior high, high school, all that took place. But he's just as good as falconer as any of us, and he's flown birds, and so I look forward someday he'll come back and we'll have 3 generations of falconers. So.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I mean, I'm happy for people whose kids seem to be interested and invested. My son couldn't care less.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. I mean, I don't want anybody, regardless of what my relationship is to them or not or whatever.
Right.
I don't want anybody to ever do something because they feel like they have to,
right,
or because they're obligated to, or whatever. You know what I mean? Especially
that was his only way in the family.
Yeah,
I was obligated.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny. I mean, we all go through our own trials and tribulations. I mean, I hope you think your marriage is worth it.
Yeah, shit, 100%.
Worth it to me.
Well, there's only I couldn't bring her back. That was the other thing. Like,
yeah,
so
you can't bring her back.
I can't bring her back. That 25 years of bliss. We've been married since '98. So
good.
I would do it all again 100 times. So
awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
But yeah,
no, that's great. No, and like I said, part of the reason why I love doing this so much is to hear unique situations and circumstances. And I think this is probably a first for me anyway. I don't know of anybody that ended up getting into falconry because they married someone's
right,
daughter that was already a falconer, whatever. And this is kind of a cool first for me also. Yeah. But I mean, before we kind of start to wrap things up a little bit, I mean, we've already kind of talked about different aspects of things that could be construed as advice and stuff or whatever, but like between the both of you, I mean, what do you think are the best pieces of advice that you can kind of pass off to either current or prospective falconers? I mean,
don't do it.
That's funny.
What's that old movie with Rodney Dangerfield? Mm-hmm. And he ended up being he was that old man, went back to school, and and he gave the valedictorian talk, and he said, I have one word or one thing to say to you. Don't go. Stay in school. Yeah. So, if somebody, and that's a pet peeve of mine, somebody trying to talk someone else into being a falconer. Don't do that. Just, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it. No matter what you do. If they want to be a falconer, they're going to get it done one way or the other. And it didn't have to be by marrying into it either. But, yeah, just make sure that that's what you want to do. It's a tremendous responsibility. Not with between you and the bird, between you and your wife. A lot of falconers don't make that 50 years like we did, and so it's a tough place to be, and you've got to make sure that the whole family is on board with this before you make that plunge.
Yeah, I would say my friends see my wife's grace that she gives me with the birds in the house, with anything that happens bird wise in this house. They're just like, how is that? I was like, her dad was one, is one, but she's grown up with it. But also she knows what it means to me and you, that it's just everything to us. So I think it just makes a good marriage go when she sees, how much it brings to our family. And so.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's probably a little bit easier for you to say that, considering you had to do it in order to marry her.
This is true.
So.
And that's where the damn it Kyle part comes in. Everything's blamed on Kyle.
It's all my fault.
Everybody knows the term now. Damn it Kyle.
It's in the archives. Here we go. No, it is my fault. If you just have, stub your toe, it's my fault.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's always got to be the one guy. There's
Yeah.
always at least one guy that, no matter what, it's, yeah. I mean, there's got to be at least one scapegoat in every falconry group.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. He's a
Yeah.
good one.
Well, I mean, we can't all be privileged. It's not like he hasn't had some degree of a decent trade-off for it, it sounds
There you
like.
go.
Right. You know what I mean? So, well, I mean, is there anything else that you guys think of you want to, share or discuss or anything that we didn't touch on here? I know that between two people and for such a long experience in falconry and stuff, sometimes it's easy to kind of brush over things that, but I mean, is there anything else that you can think of that you want to share before we?
I think just the fact that over the last 30 or so years that I have met so many fine people, and we have Matt Mullinex has been at my house every Thanksgiving for 25 years.
Why do you let him?
In spite of our best wishes. Last year, he missed last year because of COVID, but he was there. He'll be there twice this year to make up for it, I'm sure.
Don't enable him.
I know. I
Stop
know.
that.
He'll be here tonight. So
Yeah, don't remind me.
we've met so many nice people from absolutely all over the world, and we stay in contact with people that typically we might see once a year, but they're still just great friends, and I've got to do some amazing stuff through falconry, not falconry stuff, but I got to do eagle surveys for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and flew all over the western U.S. doing golden eagle surveys
Really?
for a month, every day in a Cessna, just flying at 300 feet over. I'm a geologist, so flying over all of that geology that I've read about and seen from the ground, I got to see it from the air. And then we got to do prairie chicken surveys from helicopters and things like that never would have come our way if it hadn't been for falconry. I got to fly in a P-51 Mustang with a friend of mine that has one. And who would get to do that kind of stuff? And it was every bit of that was because I got into falconry because of that one time that I went to that meet that I had no idea why I was going, and it's all just meshed together. Yeah. And so we've made tremendous friends, lifelong friends that just stay in touch all the time. And when I didn't make it through the heart attack thing, I had calls from so many people that you just don't realize how many lives you touch with through this stuff, and so anyway,
yeah, no, that's great. No, I mean, as far as you said that you spent a month doing the eagle survey stuff.
Yeah, that was a hoot.
Yeah,
well, I've done it for 3 seasons.
Okay,
and we did the summer, did it during the spring. We've done it during the winter, and flying over the Rockies in the winter is kind of spooky, but just seeing, elk and mountain lions and grizzly bears and everything else, who gets to do that stuff?
Yeah.
And got paid for it. It's not that somebody said, I'll fly you for $300 an hour. It's like, we'll pay you $20 an hour.
Right.
I'd have done it for free, but they didn't know that.
Well, I mean, just out of curiosity, real quick, as a side note, I mean, what, out of that experience, I mean, what was the most profound thing, or what was the biggest thing that you learned out of that experience? I mean, as far as like why you were there and stuff, I mean, what was the thing that seemed to, I don't know, kind of pop out the most to you when you were doing that?
It had to be back to the geology. Yeah. Because when I graduated from college, we had a senior geology trip that went through all of that country, and I got to see all of the volcanoes and the mountains and everything from the ground level. But to go back and see that stuff from the air and understand exactly what a real volcano looks like and how they work and how small we are compared to all of that. I think that was the biggest thing of all. It wasn't the eagles at all. We saw lots of eagles, and that was great. But just to see the countryside from a different perspective, that you fly over it in a 747 at 30,000 feet, but go do the same thing at 300 feet. It's just a complete different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting, some of the differences that, just that difference in altitude can give you kind of a different perspective. I mean, I did air and ambulance transport for a little bit as part of my job, and yeah, just kind of what you can see from like anywhere between 500 to 1,500 feet up in a helicopter is a lot different than kind of what you're going to see X amount of however many thousand feet up in a plane, you know, and some of the subtle differences. So yeah, I mean, that's cool. How about you, Kyle? Anything else that you want to share before we?
Man, I would say, you know, if you're going to pursue this stuff, that strap in, because it's a wild ride. We've had so many great adventures. I mean, I don't even know how to cover all of it. I think about from 1996 to now, and just all that I've seen and all that I've done because of falconry. That's, I would say, just get in and buckle up, and, you know, try to do your best. Yeah. Make good decisions. You know, cut the risk a little bit, and, you know, think about all the work you put in to get that bird hunting, and, you know, and I'm one of the world's worst. I'm pretty risky. I
drive. When we're together, I drive.
Yeah, he doesn't want me to drive. Yeah, that's true. So
you want the older guy that's already had a history of cardiac arrest. You know, it's like to be the driver. That makes you must suck as a driver.
Yeah. I just don't think I've taken, you know, as far as my rig goes, it's made to drive and drive fast.
Drive it like you stole it.
That's it. Drive it like you stole it. Park it like it's rented. Because I don't care. We're going to get there quick.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, I would say, yeah, strap in. Especially if you're riding with me. We're going to go do some great stuff, adventures. So,
cool.
I look forward to doing it for as long as I can.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, I know that we could probably just keep going on a bunch of different stuff for hours, but, you know, I mean, I appreciate the hour that you've given me here, you know, so far. And you know, I mean, like I said, I'm glad that you guys were happy about, you know, doing this, and, you know, nobody had to strong arm me into doing it, you know?
Yeah. Thanks for including us.
Yeah, we
appreciate
it. Yeah. Glad you're doing this. It's been so nice just to hear folks that I know come in and do the podcast. I didn't know he knew that. Yeah. So, and the things, again, back to Tom, the things that he's done, and I thought I knew everything about Tom until I heard the podcast. He didn't tell me that.
Yeah. No, it's funny, man. You know, I mean, yeah, it's not very often that, you know, you know that someone has a storied history, or someone that you think may not have much history, but then you find out that, oh, there's more depth to this person that you originally thought and stuff. I mean, you know, I remember doing that podcast, you know, just using Tom as an example again, and then like finding out even that there was so many more things that we could have talked about. Like, you know, I would have liked to learn more about his history as, like, you know, say like a lucha libre wrestler or something like that, you know, and, you know, just different crap like that, you know, you just, like I said, that's part of the reason why I enjoy doing this. And I'm glad that I could learn, you know, some about you guys' history and you know, share it with people. And, thanks for being willing to do it.
You bet.
So, thank you guys.
Thank you.